so brilliant to be in Skipton today. It's been a wonderful day, I've loved it. And for those who saw that video this morning, I unapologetically played it again. Why? Because it's brilliant. You know what, I absolutely love working for the Evangelical Alliance. I'm so passionate about the church in this country. And I'm even more passionate about what is yet to come through it, aren't you? I'm so excited about it. I meet so many Christians who don't seem excited about it, and I do not fall into that category. I am a passionate evangelical who believes great things are going to happen. I was reading the Guardian newspaper recently, not to give away my political persuasion. I read a number of different newspapers. Recently reading the Telegraph, there you go, you can have your guesses. But I was reading the Guardian, and there was a piece saying what is going to be, I talked about words of the year this morning, but what's going to be the word of the year in 2019? And the Guardian's favourite is this: a vegan-gelical. The definition of a vegan-gelical is someone who's so passionate about their veganism that you can't encounter them without their passion leaking on you. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I want to be an evangelical who is so passionate about Jesus, it's not possible to encounter me without some of that leaking on you. So get ready to get leaked on. But before we move on to the sermon, just like this morning, just a bit about the EA. Because you know what? I'm passionate about what we stand for. Started in 1846, seeking to do two things: unite the church in her mission to the United Kingdom, and give the church a clear and effective voice into every layer of society. I'm asked so often, what's an evangelical? That's easy. We believe the Bible is the inspired word of God. Stop faffing around with the Bible and start obeying it. And let's change our culture with the truth within it. We believe too the death and resurrection of Jesus is the single most important thing in human history. But then we also believe in the need to be saved. So many of my friends who think you come to faith by accident, or they're moving towards a universalist position. No! You get on your knees and you meet your Saviour. But then we also believe in being active in the world, making the world more like the kingdom. It's evangelicals who've brought about so much social change, and evangelicals who are the best opportunity this nation has in the next decade. Because whatever happens in the next decade is probably going to get harder sociologically as well as spiritually. That's why I'm delighted to be part of the Evangelical Alliance, because you know what? We're a member organisation. We represent the 2 million evangelicals in this country to every layer of society. When the government want to know what you think, they ask us, so I'm really sorry. I hope you give the right answer. But we're made up of 4,000 churches, 700 organisations, and tens of thousands of individuals who work together to make Jesus known in our day. Which is why, as I did this morning, I unashamedly ask you again to consider becoming a personal member of the EA. Why? Because by standing together we can change this nation. The example I gave this morning is the same one I'll give. Why? Because we can't talk about a lot of what we do until it's done. Because a lot of it happens behind closed doors. But 2.5 years ago, when the government said they wanted to offset all youth work and Sunday schools in churches, we thought that was an outrageous attempt at destroying spiritual freedom. So we just took it on. For 2.5 years we fought it, and last year it got kicked out, at least for now. Why? Because we can say we represent all these different people. Which is why we desperately need your voice. It's great to have churches on board, but people are cynical about institutions. It's individuals who desperately need to be able to stand together and drive forward. And it only costs a cup of coffee a month, £3 a month to join the EA. That's outrageous, isn't it? And there's a form in the back of here. If you're up for doing that, that'd be great. And if you tick the couple box, if you are in a couple, put both your names, counts as 2. Couple of resources on the table. If you didn't take one this morning, take one now. Speak up. This is just a reminder of your gospel freedoms in the UK. Do not let the media tell you what you're allowed to do in this nation. Because a lot of it's not true. You hear sensationalised headlines that make bad newspapers, but seldom. And then what we get off the back end, we can't talk at work, or we can't pray in this place. No, you need to know your freedoms. You have more freedom to share the gospel in the United Kingdom than just about any nation of the world. But if you don't use those freedoms, your children won't have them. Take this leaflet, it's just a quick reminder. We did it in the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, your freedoms to share the gospel. We then did a one-stop evangelism hub, Great Commission, which is designed to give you everything you need to reach people with the gospel. Loads of videos of people come to faith. Do you know God's moving powerfully in this nation? I have seen bucket loads of people come to faith in the last few months. Bucket loads. Including people you wouldn't expect. You know, an imam that is connected to some of our ministry in North West London came to faith recently. It's brilliant, isn't it? You know, people think, well, how's that going to happen? Yeah, and you get praying, you get doing, and you believe that Jesus can move mountains. We've also put every resource in one place so you can find what you want to reach people. Finally, if you sign up to EA today, I'll give you 3 presents, because it just might swing the deal. And I don't want to take them home. That's not true, these are high quality resources. First one is a reprint, a brand new edition, it's only been out for 2 months, of a book my wife Anne and I wrote a couple of years ago called Game Changers. It's about how Moses encounters God at the burning bush and gains the confidence to take on his landscape for the Lord. How might we encounter God powerfully enough to see the whole of the United Kingdom change for Jesus? Don't like reading, watch it on TBN, Freeview Channel 65 on a Thursday evening. We do it on the telly at 9:30. Secondly, unity for a purpose. 7 sessions for group or individual study, that we might know what unity is in God, that we might know hope and we might share hope with people. Finally, and this is always the most popular, an EA keyring. So why is that popular? I tell you why it's popular. This is our logo on it, it's detachable. This becomes a substitute pound coin. When you want to get that trolley, and you're really annoyed, you haven't got a coin, you just think, oh, God bless Christian unity. Take it off, stick it in, you say, Lord, in your mercy, would you do something magnificent in this land? Would you bless the EA in Parliament, and would you unite us in our mission? Then you put it back on, happy days, win-win. Like to give those three. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, I pray you would forgive me for overselling in your house. But Lord, you know that the motive is incredibly pure, even if the method is a touch peccant. And Lord, as we turn to your word now, we pray you speak to us. Lord, we pray you would use this time to challenge us in our hearts and to do something remarkable, we pray. Amen. If you've got a Bible, just turn it on. We're going to Acts 5. If it's any help, it's page 823 in my Bible. And we're going to look at a simple message. We're going to look at stepping up as a church. Acts 5, verse 12. The apostles performed many signs and wonders among the people, and all the believers used to meet together in Solomon's colonnade. No one else dared join them, even though they were highly regarded by the people. Nevertheless, more and more men and women believed in the Lord and were added to their number. As a result, people brought those who were ill into the streets and laid them on beds and mats, so that at least Peter's shadow might fall on some of them as he passed by. Crowds gathered also from the towns around Jerusalem, bringing those who were ill and those tormented by impure spirits, and all of them were healed. Then the high priest and his associates, who were members of the party of the Sadducees, were filled with jealousy. They arrested the apostles and put them in the public jail. But during the night, an angel of the Lord opened the doors of the jail and brought them out. Go, stand in the temple courts, he said, and tell the people all about this new life. At daybreak, they entered the temple courts as they had been told and began to teach the people. When the high priest and his associates arrived, they called together the Sanhedrin, the full assembly of the elders of Israel, and sent to the jail for the apostles. But on arriving at the jail, the officers did not find them there. So they went back and reported, we found the jail securely locked, with the guards standing at the doors. But when we opened them, we found no one inside. On hearing this report, the captain of the temple guard and the chief priests were at a loss, wondering what this might lead to. Then someone came and said, look, the men you put in jail are standing in the temple courts, teaching the people. There are lots of different views on the church right now. I think the most important thing for the church right now is to step up. It's to broaden our expectation. It's to believe God for more. It's to believe that God wants to move mountains in Skipton and further afield. To believe that the Lord wants to bring utter transformation in this time of difficulty. You know, it's 15 years ago that I got ordained. It wasn't a proper one, just a Baptist one, but I got ordained. And, remember where you are, Gav? I got ordained, and I came to the last meeting. You're either in or you're not in. And I'm being interviewed, so it's 15 years ago, so I was only 2. And in my mid-20s, and I'm getting interviewed by this older guy, and he says to me, young man, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? I said, I want to change the world for Jesus, or die in the process. He says, no, that's not sensible enough. That's not realistic enough. He says, be practical. Young man, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? I said, okay, I'll be practical. I said, I want to be involved in the greatest revival in human history. And I want it to be in the United Kingdom. He says, no, That's not sensible or realistic enough. He said, I've worked in the same area for 10 years. We've seen 3 people come to faith, but bucket loads more than that leave. Young man, be sensible. Young man, be realistic. Young man, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I said what came straight into my head. I said, never turn out like you. Now, that's a bit rude, right? And I didn't mean to be rude, but I did mean that I never want to be like that. I never want to wake up in the morning and think, Lord, what are you not going to do today so you'll meet me in my tiny expectations? Or think, Lord, how can I possibly limit you to such an extent that nothing will happen? You know, right now there are so many sort of people saying, this is dreadful, this is bad, and you know what? The landscape is hard. This nation's going to become a really hard place to be poor in. This nation is a really hard place to believe that there's any greater authority than the powers that be. And I tell you of an authority, it's called Jesus. And his word is more important than anything that the school system tries to teach my children. But it's getting harder. It's getting harder too. There's a hostility towards us. Some of what we believe is seen as bigoted. And it's getting difficult. It's getting tricky. There's 3 laws we're working against at EA that are being brought in to seek to stop extremism in this country. But the problem is, what they're actually trying to stop is any exclusive belief. And as long as there is air in these lungs, I will not stop saying, Jesus is not an option. He's not one of many. He's not a hobby or a possibility. He's the way, the truth, and the life. But at the same time, Aslan's proper on the move. We're seeing stuff happen that you wouldn't believe. We're seeing people come to faith in an amazing way. And we as the church need to up our game on being positive, not negative. Because I find it really hard being a Christian sometimes. I don't find any people group more negative than Christians. Honestly. What other people group pay to do research on themselves and then sensationalise it with negative headlines and tell the world about it? We're forever doing the church is nearly finished, and then we're telling people, what are we doing? I got asked recently to endorse a book, and the title of the book was The Church is a Generation Away from Extinction. Now, I politely said no, I was thinking of things that could be done with the manuscript, but the reality is, anything in the world is one generation away from extinction. And we as Christians think somehow getting all negative is going to make everyone want to join us. Because at the same time as being a Christian, I'm also a football fan. I support the same football team as Jesus. AFC Wimbledon. Right? People say, why does Jesus support Wimbledon? That's really easy. He cares about the marginalised. He cares about those who've been treated really badly. And he cares about those living in exile. And when it comes to being a football fan, based on nothing, every summer you're optimistic for the next year. Right now, my team, AFC Wimbledon, are 10 points adrift at the bottom of the 3rd division. But we're still in the FA Cup. We beat West Ham, we're going to beat Millwall, I've got my stab vest ready. And also, when we go down, right, that's going to really equip us. It's going to mean we're going to get rid of the people on the high pay wages, we're going to get rid of the dross we don't need, we're going to bring in some new players. Next year we're going to win the league we're in. We'll then win the next one, and we win the Premier League. It's great, isn't it? That's how football fans think. Christians think the opposite. Now, I'm not saying we need to be deludedly optimistic, but I am saying we need to find ourselves a positive script. Because the way we're so down on ourselves isn't right, because I believe in a God who can move mountains. I am not going to wake up in the morning and think, Lord, what are you not going to do? And I totally believe in my lifetime there's going to be a major move of God in my life. I totally believe in for it. And I think we as a church have got to believe for it. And we've also got an incredible moment right now. I'm a keen runner. And I spend time with the Lord when we have young children. First had young kids, you just couldn't have a quiet time. The only way to have a quiet time is to go out of the house and go running. No one stops you then. And I was out running about 6 months ago. I spent 14 years of my life working for Youth for Christ. 87% of people in the United Kingdom who come to faith are under 25. So don't ever stop investing in young people and children. However, older people, by definition, anyone over 25, they come to faith at junction moments. Someone moves house, someone gets a new job, someone loses a job, you get married, someone dies, you have a baby. Good or bad, junction moments are the moments older people come to faith. And I felt the Lord say to me on a run 6 months ago that for the next 2 years, the whole of the United Kingdom's at a junction moment. Because of the chaos going on. This isn't a political comment. I don't know what's going to happen. I've got a clue. I'm glad that the Lord knows, but I don't know. But in the chaos, a moment is created where people's openness to the gospel is greater. It doesn't mean that people won't always want to come to faith, but for 2 years we've got a window you won't have again. And I genuinely believe that in my lifetime this is the greatest openness to the gospel that we've seen so far. Because the only thing that can bring order out of chaos is shown at the beginning of the Bible, it's God. And the only thing that can bring order out of our current chaos is Jesus. That's why I'm one of the few church leaders who's not praying for an end to the chaos. I'm praying for a maximising of the gospel opportunity. Because one of the things I hate about our country is in 5 or 10 years' time we'll be fine. Because we'll find someone else's neck to stand on. Whether it's the right decisions or the wrong decisions being made at the moment, the economy of things, it'll be fine in a decade. But for 2 years there's a moment for the gospel. Don't miss it. Don't miss the junction moment. Which leads me on to the 3 little things I have for you. The first is this. Our God is all-powerful.
Yes.
I can't say this enough. It's so simple but so important. Our God is all-powerful. I talked about running. When I go running, I'm running Adidas running shoes. Their slogan is this: impossible is nothing. Every time you put this body in those shoes, that proves to be false marketing. There is an awful lot that I can't achieve in those shoes, no matter how shiny or nice they look. But with God, literally nothing's impossible. What's the thing you've given up praying for that could still happen? What's the dream you have for your community or your street or your sports club or your workplace or your family? Nothing's impossible with God. I sometimes fear that we've made God small enough for us to be comfortable with. But with Him, nothing's impossible. In the passage, it's the fact that God's doing stuff that gets the apostles into trouble. You know, and I'm quite good at getting into trouble. It's a funny thing that really. Everything that the church hated about me as a teenager, they love about me as an adult. I got banned from the church when I was 14 for 6 months. Brilliant at the time, even my mum couldn't make me go. But I met my Sunday school teacher again recently, and she's like, it's funny, isn't it, Gav? Because what used to really annoy me about you was this. It used to really annoy me that you were strong-willed. It used to really annoy me that you would stand out from the crowd. It used to really annoy me that you were brave enough to say stuff no one else would say. And it used to really annoy me that no matter how hard I tried, I could not sway you from the courage of your conviction. So each of those things is what I love about you now. There's a funny thing, isn't there, that our all-powerful God can take anything, can redeem it and use it. And He's moving powerfully in this passage. And the apostles get into trouble for that. It doesn't matter if you get into trouble because God's moving so much. If God's moving so much that the authorities can't help but notice, that's okay. And angered by the failure of their first assault by arresting 2 of them, they now arrest a whole bunch of them and throw them in jail. Because they think that's how you control this all-powerful God. But this God can use you even when you're doing badly. Even when we do things in a bad way, God can use us. We've got to start bringing our little to Jesus and letting Him use it because He's so powerful. My worst ever sermon was a decade ago in North Wales. Honestly, if you think this place is far away from places, North Wales is a nightmare. And it was a youth event in North Wales on a Friday night. The worst day of the week to travel, yeah? And I go into this youth event and I've been told there will be hundreds of young people there. Turn up at this youth event, I've got more fingers than there were young people there. There were 9. And the churches had clubbed together to hire in a 10-foot-high stage. And because they'd paid for it, they insisted I preach from it. I'm already 6'3". So there I am, 16'3" in the air. Towering over a bunch of young people, smaller in number than the disciples. I didn't want to be there, but I'd been brought in to preach the gospel, so I did it pretty badly and in a bad mood, but I did it nonetheless. At the end of the night, and back in the day before bank transfers, you lived in the ministry of envelopes. They give you an envelope and they check in it towards your ministry to cover your costs and some of your time and stuff. And I used to have an agreement with the Lord, don't open the cheque till you get home. Spend the journey home with the Lord working out how it had gone. So me and the Lord spent the long journey home deciding and making it quite clear it had been a complete failure. I get home and open the gift. It's the early hours of the next day at this point. Out falls the gift. £5 book token. You can't put that in a petrol tank, right? So I'm paying for the privilege of the worst day ever. Then about 18 months ago, I was preaching at this church in Stoke. And afterwards, this lad comes up to me, he's about 25, and he starts saying, do you remember that youth event in North Wales with the huge stage and no kids and blah, blah, blah? I can't remember it, mate. You want some, do you, fella? He says, I gave my life to Jesus that night. I said, how? And he said, I'm now a youth worker and just done an outreach on the local estate with some of the lads, and 32 of them have given their lives to Jesus. You only have to get one Samaritan woman to get their village. Even when we do things badly, we bring them to Jesus, don't we? One more, because I think it's good to tell stories to raise faith, especially when we've done bad things. I write books. I don't ever claim to be Shakespeare, but I write books because, frankly, it's a good way of getting ministry out there. And I write books to try and change people's lives. I've never taken a penny from any book I've written. Every penny goes into the ministry I'm involved in. Never taken any money, so it's not done for the wrong reasons. It's all done for the right reasons. And I went and preached at this one particular church, and this guy comes up to me afterwards when I'm getting a coffee. He says, "You've got a real gift." I'm like, "Thank you." Pretending to be humble. "Thank you so much. It's so nice. It's just the Lord. Thank you so much." He says, "You've got a real gift." Oh, thank you. Yeah. You've got a real gift for writing well below average books that sell them. Now, I can do sarcasm, but that's just rude. So I come away from that church and I'm like, "Lord, I'm never writing anything again. I'm done with this. I've done it with the right motives. I'm sick of this." Until 6 weeks later, I get a message from a kid on Facebook. He's 19. He's what you might call a backslidden Christian. He's gone home for the Christmas holidays from uni. And his mum's left a copy of my book, Disappointed with Jesus, on his bedside table. Why do mums do that? It's like he left a cigarette, they'd gone, and Santa Mum's provided a book. He said he got so bored during the holidays, eventually he read it. Oh, brilliant. Gets to chapter 9, where I describe the gospel, and I describe surrendering my life the day after my 18th birthday party, surrendering my life on my own to Jesus on a park bench in Mayo Park in Forest Hill, South London, very specific. And he's reading this and he's like, hang on, that's the park opposite his parents' house. So his parents live on Mayo Road, the same road on which I gave my life to Jesus in the park. And he's reading this sat on Mayo Road. And he says he gets to the end of the book, he crosses the road, he sits on a park bench in Mayo Park on his own in South London in Forest Hill, surrenders his life to Jesus. Nothing to do with me, I write well below average books that say that. It's something to do with this all-powerful God coming upon our efforts and using them. Friends, we've got to start believing that this all-powerful God wants to use the little we've got. But secondly, Christianity can't be swept away. Christianity can't be swept away. Throughout the history of the church, from the first disciples being dipped in pitch and used as human candles in Emperor Nero's garden, through to the so-called Islamic State of recent years, people think the way you get rid of Christianity is you kill some Christians. But my advice to anyone thinking of doing that would be this. The way you grow the church is you make Christianity as comfortable as is humanly possible. That's the way you shrink the church. If you start hurting it, it starts growing. You can't get rid of Christianity. The odd Christian dies along the way and gets incredible struggle, and I don't want to belittle that, but you can't get rid of Christianity. The fastest growing church in the world right now is Iran, where you can lose your life for having a Bible. One of my friends who runs Elam Ministries, and they go to Turkey, because Turkey is not Iran, but it's still not totally safe. And they hire a Turkish hotel swimming pool for a week. And during the day they put on free swimming lessons for local kids so no one catches on. Then every night they baptise 350 Iranians in the swimming pool. Send them back to Iran. It's exploding. You can't stop it. And this time in the passage it's not just Peter and John who are arrested, but all of the apostles are thrown into the public jail. Do you know who I feel most sorry for in this moment? The jail guards. The poor two jail guards. All those apostles can't stop going on about Jesus. Imagine those two jail guards. Stood there all night with the apostles preaching because the apostles see them as a captive audience. You know, we've got to change our perspective sometimes. When David fights Goliath, he's got two choices. One, he's so big he's going to kill me. Or two, he's so big there's no way I'm going to miss. And we've got to work on our perspective a bit. Because Christianity can't be swept away. Then we get this amazing moment. At this point, I think, it's important to say, especially if you want to work with younger generations, stop always saying what the Bible says and start saying what it looks like. The Bible is the most incredibly visual book ever. And it gets me going sometimes thinking about, what was that looking like? Not just what does it say? When Moses sees the sea split, what happens? How soggy is the ground? And what if a big whale splits? You collect a whale steak on your way through? I'm just not sure. When Lot's wife turns around and becomes a pillar of salt, which, by the way, seems a little bit harsh. But when that happens, why salt and not pepper? I've always wondered. Or when the feeding of the 5,000 happens, little boys eat everything. That little boy who gave his lunch to Jesus, he was really hungry. But his lunch was so bad, he thought, I don't fancy it, you can give it to Jesus. It's a pretty bad lunch, wasn't it? And that feeds the field. I wish I'd been there. When Jesus is resurrected from the dead in the Gospel of John, anyone know what the first thing he does when he's resurrected? Folds up dirty washing. Mary raised Jesus really well, right? Because he's resurrected from the dead and he folds up a sheet. But he doesn't fold the second sheet. At some point he thinks, hang on, I'm the Saviour of the world, I better crack on with preaching the gospel and he leaves the tomb. Or when Lazarus is resurrected, Jesus stands outside the tomb, he says, Lazarus, come out! When I went to the tomb in Bethany, I realised why Jesus says that. Because there's 15 spaces for dead people in the tomb. He's so powerful, if he's just said, come out, all 15 would have walked out once. It's like a Scooby-Doo moment, as every walk comes to life. Isn't it lucky that Lazarus wasn't a common name? Imagine if there were 3 of them, and Jesus said, not you, sunshine, not like that. We've got to start with what it looks like, not just what it says. Or in this passage, they're banged up in prison, and an angel of the Lord comes along in the night, walks past the guards, unlocks the door, lets them out, locks it up again, and then turns to the apostles and says, by the way, crack on with doing what you were doing before, go out and preach again. What a moment. Because the world thinks they could lock up the Christians and get rid of it, but Christianity can't be swept away. And we've got to start changing our disposition. Because we've got the end of the story. When you've got the end of the story, you should live differently in the middle. When I was 16, that terrible Titanic film came out. And I went on a dreadful first date to watch it. And after 3.5 hours, the boat sank. Now, I knew that before I went. And when you know the end of the story, you live differently in the middle, don't you? We know the end of the story. Whatever bad stuff happens between now and the end of time, however many wars there are, rumours of wars, incurable diseases, however many people are exploited for their bodies, however much persecution and pain and difficulty there is. But equally, however many good things happen. However many revivals and renewals of the church, however many cures for incurable diseases we find, however many World Cups England win. For better or worse, whatever happens between now and the end of time, the end is still the same. Jesus wins. And the church has got to start being more confident in our day. Because we have this all-powerful God with us, and Christianity can't be swept away. And finally, we're compelled to share the message. We're compelled to share the message. Everyone has an environment in which they're a bit scared to share their faith, don't they? Tell what mine is. Or they don't like it as much. Mine is this. Parks. I often get asked by churches to preach in a park at their outdoor Pentecostal similar thing. I don't like doing it. I like going to the park to play football. I like going to the park to have coffee. I don't like going to the park to basically be a church zoo for the day. Where we do church and everyone's just talks us. Yeah. But nonetheless, I was at this one in Bedford. And I felt the Lord say to me during the last song before I was preaching, don't preach like a lion in a church and a mouse in a park. So I gave it some. And it was great. There was the football match over there, the cafe over there, and in the middle was 400 Christians. And I preached the gospel. People came to faith at the end, and that was exciting. I asked them to stand and things. And we prayed for them, and that was all sorted. Then I was just about to come to the front and grab my water bottle and be going on with it, when I realised there was a guy stood in the cafe. I went over to him and said, well, why are you standing? He said, you told me to. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you said if you want to surrender your life to Jesus, stand. So I did. I said, did you come for church? He says, no. Came for a donut. I looked down at his plate and the donut was half eaten. And so I prayed for this guy, led him to the Lord. And I opened our eyes at the end, and we both looked down, and the pitcher was finishing off his donut. And he says to me, that seems like a fair exchange. When you've got Jesus in your heart, whether you want to or not, you're compelled to share him. You're compelled to share him. The Sanhedrin had gathered. Now this is another moment. I wish I'd been there, a visual moment. The Sanhedrin had gathered, the Jewish council. These people are proper wealthy. They're properly well dressed and they're properly clever. Now, I'm from a family of geniuses. This is genuinely true. From a family of geniuses. I'm one of 4 children. The other 3 are unbelievably clever. I didn't get the brains, I got the looks. And so growing up around geniuses, in my context at least, you realise that the 3 geniuses I grew up around were very clever, but they had absolutely no common sense. So they could solve any theory in the history of mankind, but they couldn't put up a picture hook. I imagine the Sanhedrin like this. Really clever, really well dressed, really wealthy, but not a lot of common sense. That's how I picture them at least. And they send for the apostles. And the messenger comes back and he says, they're not there. So they say to him, well, what happened? Is the door open? The prison? No. Are the bars broken? No. Is there any sign of how they got out? No. Where are they? Dunno. And then you've got the Sanhedrin sat in a circle, the solar system collection of brains are whirling around, the hamster wheels are going and going and going. They're trying to solve how have these people disappeared. And then someone looks out the window and he's like, surprise! Like what? They're doing in the courtyard what you banged them up for doing before. Because there's something about this Jesus, when his message gets in your guts, it's time to share him. And we need to get away from something. Evangelism is not a profession. We have made it a profession. It is not a job. And it is certainly not a character type. We as the church have got this so wrong. We have said that larger than life, in your face, slightly humorous, storytelling individuals with huge body movements. They're the evangelists. And the rest of us would outsource it to them. That's as wrong as employing a youth worker when no one else is doing youth ministry. Friends, we need to get realistic. Witnessing to the world is the domain of all of us. That's why these, does anyone know what these are on the screen? Grains of sand under a microscope. Sand looks the same from a distance. When you put it under a microscope, it all looks different. A bit like people. It's going to take all people to reach all people, not just big mouths on a stage. Forget about us. We'll do it anyway. But the whole church needs to be released to reach people. And at every level, it's not just about hands in the air. It's about taking someone who's anti-faith to being moderately indifferent. Taking someone from there to being interested to all. Taking someone from decision to disciple, because that's what we're going for. And we've got to move away from thinking it's other people's job. If you know and love Jesus, it's your job. We'll all do it together, it'll be fun. And let me let you into a secret. I alluded to this morning. For some people, I can be a bit much. I love the tube in London during the rush hour. And I love it particularly when my friend gets on at the same stop as me. We find the most congested bit to stand in. And not the bit on the sides of the seats, the bit right in the middle where you're lodged into armpits, right? And we stand in there and we talk loudly about Jesus. And when someone shows an interest, boom, divide and conquer. That's unusual. The fastest growing denomination in the United Kingdom is the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I preached at their prayer meeting. There were 40,000 people there at the Excel Arena. I was one of 15 white people. My friend Pastor Aggie, who runs the Redeemed Christian Church of God, said, this is how he introduced me, he said, this is my friend Gavin. He has the wrong personality for his nationality. He said, really at heart, he's a Nigerian. But here's the thing, friends, I'm not going to stop if you start. And therefore we've all got to witness together, haven't we? We've all got to take on what's in front of us, sharing faith with others. I met a passion expert because I'm concerned I'm not passionate enough. And I met this passion expert and she said to me, do you know how you can tell what people are passionate about? I said, I reckon, yeah, what they spend their money on. She said, that's a terrible answer. She said that you couldn't be more wrong. What you spend your money on is totally socially conditioned. She said, there's 2 ways you can tell what people are passionate about. Firstly, what they spend their time on. She said, there's nothing more precious than time. And she said, secondly, what they talk about. Surely it's not possible to be in someone's presence for half an hour without hearing what they're primarily passionate about come out of their mouth. Friends, are we in awe and wonder of Jesus enough that it's not possible to spend half an hour in your presence without talking about Jesus? I talk about being evangelicals. Let's be evangelicals that share with our mouths and our hands and our hearts. But let's not be passionate. Let's recalibrate on the living Jesus. And though we are compelled, we are delighted to share. It's going to take the whole of Skipton to be reached. It will only happen by all of you having a go. There's no way otherwise. Don't leave it to the odd, in-your-face, excited one over there. Because frankly, they'll only get some, you'll get others. Let's work together. I said before that on the Great Commission website we release a story a week of people coming to faith. Every so often we release a story of someone sharing their faith. We released the story of Ben. He's in year 9 at school. He was quite a geeky lad. Shared his faith at school with real passion. And his nan hadn't realised how serious Ben's faith was, really. And she went to church on Sunday night. It was all on sharing your faith. And they said at the front, we're now going to play a video for the Evangelical Alliance about sharing your faith. It was her grandson. And she sits there weeping as her grandson's on the screen and she's hearing about him sharing his faith at year 9. Friends, if you think it's hard in your context, go back to year 9. And at the end, her friend Reg, 4 seats down from her, stands up and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Reg is 91, by the way. Whoa! I've never shared my faith with anyone. And I want to be like Ben. Will you pray for me? 4 or 5 people gather around Reg, they lay on hands, they pray that Reg would be anointed as a witness. 6 months later, Reggie stood by the baptismal pool with a towel as his best friend for the whole of his life, Jimmy, gets baptised because Reg started witnessing to Jimmy. But Reg was inspired by Ben in year 9 on the screen because we're all to do this together. I totally believe in my lifetime to be a major move of God. I also get told by lots of Christians I need to grow out of that and stop believing that and get sensible. I just tell them they need to start singing some different worship songs then, because mine talk about a God who moves mountains. But I think also we need to get serious about what the main thing is again. Our God is all powerful. Christianity can't be swept away, and we're compelled to share. And one story to finish. I'm kind of from the Christian mafia, if I'm honest. I'm the 7th generation called Reverend, not Mr. in my family. My old man came up with something called Spring Harvest, you might have heard of it. My granddad started something called Tear Fund, you might have heard of that. I really need a good idea on evil. But my granddad was a great Christian leader. Bible college principal, he ran the Evangelical Alliance, he wrote more books than most of us have ever read. He could speak all the biblical languages, he had it all going for him, and he preached every Sunday near enough till he was 85. But when he was 85, he took what he called early retirement. And over the next 4 years, he had 4 or 5 strokes. Got to the point where in his early 90s, he sat in a chair sleeping 20 hours a day. His body was totally broken. But his mind still worked, but only for 30 seconds at a time. And his terrible sense of humour still worked for those periods as well. I realised this got round for Sunday lunch once, and my grandma was explaining about the negative effect of witchcraft on the church in Britain. Granddad was asleep. After 2 hours, he woke up and he just said this: I know all about witches, having lived with one for 60 years. He then went back to sleep, that was all about. And it was their diamond wedding anniversary. The great and the good of their age group gathered in this large auditorium to celebrate this couple and 60 years of their marriage and ministry. You know, in ministry, in many ways, working for the church is the most underpaid and over-criticised job you can do. So if any of your church leaders, in whichever church you're from, have done anything to bless you, make sure you thank them. So I can guarantee that you'll be quick with some constructive feedback when they haven't blessed you. And in ministry, you often don't get those moments, so this was like the Oscars for them. And person after person got up to thank my grandparents. There was the church planter, the businessman, the Bible college principal, the Bible translator. At first it was fun. After 3 hours of tributes, we'd all had enough. Apart from my granddad, he just had a kick. And then it all built up to the final bit, the final tribute, which was a telegram that had been sent in, that was read out, and it was sent in by Sir Clifford. And this telegram said on it that Gilbert and Connie Calver, that's my grandparents' names, had been the most significant spiritual influence of anyone in his life. At this moment, the place went mad. There were blue rinse, wigs flying, there was false teeth out of mouths, silver frames coming over the balcony. But my granddad was asleep. That was the end of the afternoon, so my nan went up to thank everyone for coming. Thanks for coming. We couldn't have done it without you. Wouldn't have been possible. There's no way. Then something dangerous happened. Grandad woke up. And he showed that his 30 seconds of breath were upon him. So he got wheeled up in his wheelchair. He was given the microphone. He said, I'm not going to thank any of you for coming. We did this because Jesus, who is God, came from highest heaven to lowest earth for you and me. Jesus, who is God, walked the earth, giving food to the hungry, health to the sick, life to the dead. Jesus died on a cross, taking every wrong thing upon himself, that you could be set free from all your brokenness, know life in all its fullness, and know the companionship of the living God every day of your life. 3 days later, they went to the grave was empty because Jesus rose again. My Jesus defeated death, and you have the opportunity to know him today. And if you don't know Jesus and want to surrender your life to Jesus, would you just stand where you are? How to ruin a Christian party, eh? About 10 non-Christians in the room. 6 people stood up. And as they stood up, my granddad fell asleep. He got wheeled off. Someone else had to come on to pray a prayer, welcoming 6 new lives into the kingdom. But you know what amazed me about it? That was the last time he spoke into a microphone. Died 2 months later. He'd preached thousands of times. But at 92, he still knew that the all-powerful God was with him. At 92, he knew that even though his body didn't have much left in it, Christianity would never be swept away. And he wanted to make sure he left a few more people to continue the good fight. And at 92, he knew that he was still compelled to share. To ruin with no social etiquette whatsoever a wonderful moment of tribute by saying it's about more than this. It's about hope. Hope is the name. His name is Jesus. When I grow up, I want to be like him. I want to be like Jesus. But to start with, I'll try and be more like my granddad. Because that's a step in the right direction. Especially. So I'll ask firstly, if anyone here does not know the Lord Jesus, their personal Lord and Saviour, you don't know what it is to have life in all its fullness in him. You've never given your life to Jesus. Or maybe, as so I often say when I work with young people, we did recommitments to Jesus. You've gone cold. Your faith just not become as important to you. You stop praying. You stop reading your Bible. You've not doubted. But you need to reconnect with Jesus. You need that fire back in your guts. Happens to young people a lot. We assume with adults they never need to recommit to Jesus. But I wonder tonight if whether you need to decide to follow Jesus for the first time or recommit your life to him. No one's looking at you. I just want to know who I'm praying for. Either of those are you. Do you want to put your hand in the air so I know who I'm praying for? See? Either for the first time or as a recommit. Just put up nice and high. And if it's the first time, you just leave it up. Lord Jesus, we thank you so much for our dear sister who's needed to recommit to you tonight. We pray you bless her, be close to her, give her real hope in you. Make prayer as natural as a muscle, make Bible reading the most normal thing. And with the decision made in this place tonight, it's been as real tomorrow morning to us now. Amen. The second thing's a bit weird. It's a bit weird, especially with a band sort of stood to my left. Back in the 90s, when music was brilliant with Britpop and dreadful with boy bands, you had this moment where in a lot of pop songs there would be a key change. And you would have the 5 boys in the boy band sat on their stools. I'll act as a visual demonstration. Sat on their stools. And then when the ante needed to be upped, there was a key change, and they changed their body language, and they stepped up. I think the Lord wants to see a key change in the witnessing of the church in Skipton. It's really random, but I think it's really what the Lord wants to see here. Nothing's wrong so far. But it's time to change body language, to metaphorically get off the stool and say, actually, Lord, I'm in. I'm ready to step up. I'm ready to see a key change, if you prefer a gear change. But I'm ready to see it. And in the evangelistic world that I live in, people are all talking about 2020. And I'm getting really sick of it. Because I can't wait a year. Why wait a year? Why wait till the year that sounds good? When God has a sense of humour. Why not 2019? And we are time poor and passion rich in this place tonight. So, if you want to see a gear change in your witnessing, now this isn't necessarily, I want to lead everyone in the town to Jesus. This is the witnessing of the part you play. We're a body, aren't we? So we all play different parts in leading people to Jesus. On average, it takes 6 people to lead someone to Jesus in the UK. They can't all be the person that prays the sinner's prayer or something. We all play different parts. But if you want the Lord to anoint you for a gear change in your ministry, for a key change in your witnessing, in your road, in your street, in your sports club, in your workplace, in your family, in your school, then I think there's power in asking the Lord to equip us and anoint us for that. So if that's you, I'm not going to mess about. If you're able, do you want to just stand? If that's you want to see that gear change in your witnessing life. It says, Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on your children we come. Lord, before we ask you to anoint us and equip us for this task, help us to spend a moment thanking you again for what you've done for us. Making us infectious once more. Making us a grateful people, not a consumer people. Lord, we thank you for those people that come to mind who help signpost us towards you. In the small and the big. We think of those stories earlier and the names, and we just thank you for those people that help people meet you. We thank you for those people in our lives. But now we begin to say, Lord, let us be those people for others, we pray. Come by your Spirit and anoint us, Lord. Anoint us and equip us. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord. Give us an open goal of an opportunity to share you in the next week. One so obvious that even though we might not want to step into it, we simply can't avoid it. And out of that, with confidence come. With witnessing be so natural to us. Spirit of the living God, equip your children, we pray.